Hello, friends. I welcome you all once again to my YouTube channel. Nowadays, I am hearing many people discussing stress and many people even feeling a lot of stress. Also, there are many people who are facing anxiety and stress related problems more and more frequently in their life due to personal or professional reasons. And that is why, on the occasion of World Mental Health Day, I have decided to conduct this lecture series called Decode Stress to De-Stress. Most of us do not understand stress, and that is why we become distressed rather than de-stressed. As many of you may be aware, I have earned my PhD in the subject of coping and work stress, and therefore I'm going to burst a lot of myth regarding stress and going to make you understand that what exactly stress is all about so that we all can be de-stressed. Let's discuss is the most common and prevalent myths among people. Myth 1 is stress is always bad. Well, this is not true. Not all stress is bad, and stress is not always bad. There are some kind of stress which could earn positive results in terms of your productivity and creativity. And it also does not cause any harm to your physiological or mental health. Myth 2, stress is same for everyone, which is not true. We all may be facing similar situation, but the amount of stress that is generated in different people is completely different. I'm sure you all have seen people who get stressed out so easily, even for small, minute matters. And some people are completely chilled and cool about a lot of things. So stress is different. Amount of stress felt by different people, even when they face with the same situation, is different. Myth 3, stress is everywhere and cannot be avoided. Well, if we decide and if we prepare ourselves to combat stress and prevent ourselves from stress, we can avoid stress. Myth 4, stress can't be prevented, it can only be managed reactively, which is not true. Even before you feel the stressful situation, if you have prepared yourself very well, you will never feel stressed. Myth 5, same stress management techniques work for everyone. This is not true. Different people have different techniques that works from them. Some people vent their stress out. They feel whenever they feel emotional, they cry it out. And some people like some social support from other people, etc. So there are different stress management technique and different techniques works for different people. So these are some of the most prevalent and common myths regarding stress. So all this is not stress. So let's understand, let's clear our first myth. Is stress always bad? Well, like I said, that is not true. Most of the time, when we don't feel any pressure, we are relaxed or inactive, we usually tend to become extremely cool and calm, but also unproductive. So, if you want a little more productivity and little more performance, you need to have a little amount of uh, pressure where you feel like working, where you want to be active, you have a goal and you want to achieve that goal. So, being completely relaxed all the time in life could be really detrimental to your professional life. A better version or the best of it is where you feel right amount of pressure, not extremely under stress and pressure, and also not at all stressed, which makes you basically lazy and you just stay there without being productive at all. So, when you feel the right amount of pressure, you feel like working, you become active, you're motivated, and your productivity is assumed to be maximum during this phase. And this phase is called eustress. And something that we all understand and know, wherein you feel excessive pressure, you are exhausted, anxious, and stressed out. Obviously, you cannot concentrate on productive work because you are too stressed to understand anything and make sense of anything around you, and which is distressed, which we all commonly refer to as stress. Let's understand what is eustress and distressed, and if at all there is anything in between there. Well, This is the continuum of stress, which is eustress, new stress, and distressed. Eustress is positive form of stress, which arises due to motivating or inspiring situation, like you meet some of your celebrity crush, or you feel excited seeing your favorite person. Eustress situations are normally enjoyable and not harmful to the person at all. It helps you to stay motivated, work towards your goal, and also helps you in accomplishing your goals and feel good about your life. New stress is basically a neutral state where you are not at all considering about neither good or bad stress. The event may be stressful, but it is not at all connected with you. It's like if you reside in India and if you observe that there is an earthquake in any other part of world where you are not having any kind of concern or connection. So in that case, you will face new stress, which is like no stress at all, neither good or bad. You are just being neutral about the entire situation because you have no connection with the situation. And then distressed, we all commonly refer to as stress. Distress is basically the negative form of stress. It is extremely taxing physically, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and even sometimes socially. Let's understand how stress works. So, there is a perceiver, the person who interprets the situation that they are into. Now, when they understand or when they feel that the situation that they are part of is harmful, or we can say going to be cost something to them, or if it is threatening, or we can say uncomfortable, they feel stressed. But if they don't interpret the situation to be harmful or taxing or anything like that, they don't feel threatened by the situation. They are normal. They like the situation they are into. Of course, they don't feel stress. So it is basically, we can say that psychological stress is generated by the interpretation of the situation in a negative sense by the person. So, whenever a person feels that there is any possibility of harm in the situation to them personally or professionally, they feel stressed out. The question that arises over here is: does difficult situation always lead to stress? Well, the answer is let's elaborate the situation that we were observing. So there is a perceiver who interprets the situation to be costly, harmful, threatening, or uncomfortable. The person does not get stress immediately. There is a process. There is one small activity that happens in your head. You instantly raise a question to yourself, and which is there any way out? Can we get out of the situation without getting hurt? Of course, there are two possibilities. One, where you find out the answer, and the answer is affirmative or we can say positive. So in that case, low stress or no stress, right? So yes, you got into a problem, but you also found out a solution, and voila, you are not into any problem, you are not into any mess, and you are stress free. Situation 2, you could not find any solution to the problem that you are into, and you feel stress. So we can say that coping, whenever, I mean, if you find out effective coping mechanism, you reduce the impact of stressful situation, or we can say stressor, and it shields you from the stress basically. So if we have to move from distress or we can say stress to de-stress, this is the usual process. If I sum it up, you feel a stressor, you get into that situation which is threatening or harmful or costly to you as a person. You identify, you try to explore the coping mechanism. If you identify the coping mechanism, you don't feel stress. But if you don't find any coping mechanism available to you, you feel stressed. When you feel stressed, after that, you try and manage the stress. So, there are two important aspects if you want to de stress. And one, we can say that it is coping and stress management. Coping is basically a preventive measure that is used to remove the threat or reduce the loss or harm or discomfort in any situation. While the stress management is reactive measure which basically reduces the harmful effects of stress and helps you maintain a quality of your life through deep breathing exercises, some kind of yoga and meditation or relaxation exercises, etc. So basically coping is preventive measure which can prevent stress from taking place. Basically, it is like you land in a problem, but you also find a solution within you so you don't feel stress at all, even for a second. So, that is coping, which prevents you from being into the state of stress. While stress management is reactive mechanism that once you feel stress, to avoid the negative impact of the stressful situation, you try and use some of the stress management techniques. In this situation, we can say that there are four core elements of distress. First, perceiver. Second, situation, or we can say stressor. Third, coping. And fourth, the stress management techniques. So, this lecture series will concentrate on these four core elements where this one part wherein we understood the stress. Next, we'll be discussing the situation or the stressors part of the segment, then coping, then personality and styles of coping, and then stress management interventions. Thank you all.